One of the biggest struggles I see with people entering the empty nest chapter is that they're so locked into the identity of being Billy or Susie's mom or dad, they're afraid to even consider reinventing themselves now that the kids are grown and flown. It's like you can't even see a new life of meaning and purpose that doesn't involve your kids 24/7. If you're subconsciously nodding your head along right now in agreement and saying to yourself, that's me, then keep listening. Today, I'm joined by Neena Perez, whose story of transformation and reinvention, from surviving trauma and navigating single motherhood to becoming a chef, transformational life and business coach, author, and podcast host, is one that will no doubt open your mind to what's possible in your life now. Nina, welcome to This Emptiness Life.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Oh, yeah. I loved the story. Well, maybe not you going through it, right? But the whole story of like how you went from where you were to where you are now. There's so many pieces to it. I have
Mhm.
literally probably more questions than what we'll get to in this episode. But the one that's top of mind for me is, I'm sure people may be wondering too, is like, how did you pick yourself up from every single thing that happened, from the trauma
Mhm,
to
mhm.
navigating single motherhood to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna become a chef now," and, like, how did you pick yourself up through all those massive transformations?
I think, you have to be very intentional about your life because our life is so fleeting, and I just started to realize that, like, everything was going by really fast, the kids were growing up really fast. I was struggling a lot, like, working 2 jobs and just spending a lot of time doing that kinda thing, so life just kept going. I almost had no choice, honestly, and I think that happens to a lot of people who are parents, right? You just have no choice, your kids need you, so you get up every day and do what you have to do. And as they started to get older and I started seeing them hanging out with their friends and kind of moving on and all those kind of things, it was the question of if no one needed me today, what would I choose to do? What would I what would I want to do if nobody needed me, if nobody contacted me, if nobody just thought of Nina anymore, what would I choose to show up to do in the world? To me, faith plays a big part in my life as well. So a lot of prayer was involved in this and all those kind of things. And so that's how I picked myself up because I realized I really had no choice and I knew that life had to be better than what I was going through. It just had to be. Because too many people on the outside I was seeing thriving and doing great things. I knew that something had to be better. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that inkling of there's something else
Mhm.
here for me, and, just to be clear, folks, if you're listening, if you like, you don't necessarily have to have had, like, trauma and
No.
issues or anything, right? Things that have happened horribly, you can be asking yourself, "Is there more?" Like, your life could be
Mhm.
amazing right now. Is
That's
there
right.
more?
Right.
So, when you open your mind to, "Is there more?" What did that look like for you, let's say, 5 years ago compared to where you are now?
I really started to get really curious about things and decided that I was going to investigate them, right? So, about maybe like 6, 7 years ago, I got into neuro linguistic programming. I didn't know what it was. I just heard people talking about NLP, and I'm like, what is NLP? I don't know what that is. And I like to investigate things. So, I always go into like, sometimes I go too deep into the rabbit hole, to be quite honest. I think it's my ADHD. So, I'm like just trying to figure it all out. And I realized that, I really liked it, and then I liked neural pathways, and I liked the fact that you can reinvent yourself daily, and I never thought about those things, right? I just always thought life was hard, this is what I have to go through, and then I realized, actually, no, like, yesterday's done, and so I started to, like, challenge myself, what is one thing you can do today that's completely different than yesterday? And I started doing that every day, then I wrote my book, then I did my podcast, and so on, right? So I challenged myself every day to do one different thing, and that's what kinda, like, started the snowball.
I love that. Every day's a new day to start again,
Mhm,
and I know lots of folks who listen to this show kind of are probably thinking, "I don't even know what to do next." Like, I don't even know
mhm,
what the very next step is. My kids
mhm,
have left. My identity is as a parent. They don't need me 24/7 anymore. I feel like they call when they need me or they have a question that they can't answer, but that's it, right? And I
mhm,
feel like I'm
mhm.
waiting around, but it didn't sound like you did that.
No, I didn't. I started to prioritize things that I love. And so I started to explore new passions. What does that mean exactly? Right. So, I won't go into the whole story, but I knew inside of me that I needed to go back to or wanted to be a chef because I wanted that since I was a little girl. And so I went and went back to school and became a chef and all those things. But I started to, and I went homeless during that time too. So there was a lot of things happening, right? But I started to explore what is it? What are the things that I like, right? So if you like crocheting, start crocheting or maybe take a class or maybe go teach somebody how to crochet. Like literally start to work on those passions. Maybe you like to travel, travel alone or travel with friends. I don't care what that is, but try to explore what it is you like, because a lot of I felt like that sometimes, like, what do I even like? What is that? Right? So write yourself a list. Be proactive. Take a list, write the things you like, what you like about them, and then maybe how you can explore that. Maybe there's a course out there, a group, a class, a volunteer opportunity, something, because one step will lead to the second step.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. One step will lead to the next one.
Mhm.
What I probably struggle with a little bit for my folks is that I hear this a lot from folks in my community and my social media feeds is that, well, I loved being a mom
Mhm.
and I always wanted to be a mom or a dad or whatever. Usually it's moms telling me this. I love being a mom. I can't imagine doing anything else, and I'm lost. And
Mm.
so I'm sure throughout your journey, you felt lost at times. How
Mhm.
did you find yourself?
I use my story to serve others. So if you love being a mom, you don't have to stop being a mom. Use those same strategies that you had to develop the humans that you developed, right? The people that you love the most, the ones that you spent the time on. Maybe there's something you can find within your story being a mom and the struggles of being a mom and the challenges of being a mom or a dad, and you can start a blog, you can start a podcast, you can start a YouTube channel, you can host small groups, you can help a younger person who's going through parenting right now, right? So you can still utilize those skills of being a mom, because let's be real, being a parent is probably the hardest job, honestly, in the world, right? And so I would say just, I would ask curious questions like, what did you like about that? Write those down. Like, what was the best part of being a mom? Write that down. What was the most challenging? How did you get through that? And then go help someone else. I think that getting out of our own way sometimes is really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like what were you good at as a parent? We all
Mhm.
know there's that mom or dad, like, they were really good at the lunch thing, or they were really
Right.
good at organizing play dates, or they were really good at, you
Yeah.
know, carpool or whatever it may be, is lean on the skills. It's the only job that you actually have literally on the job training 24/7.
24/7, yo.
And finding that peace. So that's what I'm hearing you say is find that piece where that you were good at that you can
Mhm.
actually, "Well, maybe this could be something I could do now."
Mhm. Mhm. I
Yeah,
think we need to be intentional, right? Because
intentional.
life will throw a bunch of curveballs your way, and some of them you'll catch and some of them you will not. And, I think once you have poured your life into, raising a family and being a wife or spouse or whatever, and you're going through those, moments in life, there is that moment where you sit and go, "Now what? Now what?" Right? And I mean, I remember feeling scared like that. What do I do now? And I'm like, well, you can't sit here all day, Nina. Get your butt up and go do something, you know? So I started to volunteer at soup kitchens. I started to, think about, okay, I have this skill, which is cooking, right? So I started a business teaching children how to cook. And, then that became a pretty big business, and I started doing summer camps and after school activities with kids cooking, and I still do that to this day, actually. And I've even grown it into now that I teach underserved communities how to get into the culinary field by teaching them culinary. So you see, I didn't think of that, when I started umpteen years ago, but if you at least try one thing, you may like it, you may not. That's okay, it's your life, do what you want, right? And so do it anyway is what I say. And if you're good, even do that even more, because I believe that you have to face and eliminate all restriction, which is what fear means to me. I face it, I eliminate. If it's a restriction, it's gone. I'm not doing that. We're going to get through it. So, as parents, let's be real. We've been through some stuff, and we've dealt with the really big things, especially if you have, multiple kids. So, you can do anything you put your mind to,
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree with that. You just said something so quick. I don't even think you realized you said it. It's probably how you said, "This is how I think of fear," and it was literally an acronym.
Yeah.
I want you to say that again for people because I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, what was that? I missed part of it." So
Yeah.
the F was,
Face
face
and
and
eliminate
eliminate.
all restrictions.
Fa
Face, eliminate all restrictions. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That is like, okay, let's go into that a little bit. So,
Okay.
face and eliminate all restrictions. I like
Yeah.
that. So, fear.
Right.
And we talk a lot about on this show is like the yeah, the coach speak is limiting beliefs, but I say it's like I can't do that,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
I couldn't do that, or I'm not allowed to do that, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
So how do you face that? Like if you want to eliminate everything, right? All
Mhm.
your restrictions, do you start with those words? Do you start with something else? How did you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think when you start to just do it, and I know that that sounds easier said than done, but this is one of the issues that we have when we have limiting beliefs or the I can't mentality is you overthought it to begin with. Right? So if you just do it when you're thinking it, you don't have time to talk yourself out of it. Right? So I don't give myself much time. I give myself 3 to 4 seconds and off I go. Because if I last longer than 5 or 6 seconds, I'm not going to get it done because I start to go, well, what about this? And well, what about that? And what about this? And what if this comes? And the what abouts, right? The what ifs. So I face it. I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel very good in my body. Like I feel afraid of doing this video. I feel afraid of doing this blog. I feel afraid of whatever. I'm like, all right, we got to eliminate this. So let's go. Let's do it. How do we do it? Okay, I got to, like, for instance, I wanted to start recording cooking videos. I haven't done it in years. I wanted to start again, and immediately fear came in like, oh, that's a lot of work. And I said, girl, stop. I went and took my iPad, I put it downstairs, I propped it up, and I started cooking. Like, what are you doing? Right? I don't give myself too much time. And I think we need to stop giving ourselves so much time that we talk ourselves out of it. Or your brain is automatically going to shut down something it's afraid of. And so you have to like beat it to the punch.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. I like that. But I also know folks may be listening and saying, Nina sounds pretty tough to me. She went through a lot. Doesn't sound like she puts up with a whole lot from anyone or herself. That's not me. How do I even take the first step?
No, well, that's not me either.
People listening are like, it sure sounds like it.
Yeah, yeah, of course it does, right? Because I do it afraid anyway. That's why, because I'm always in fear. I'm always thinking about it. I always talk myself out of great things sometimes. I do this all the time. And so because I've had so much trauma, I don't have a lot of, I challenge myself a lot because I had low self-worth, right? I just didn't think I was valuable enough, good enough, smart enough, all the things. And so it is something that constantly creeps up. So I'm no different than anyone listening. I think that the only difference is that I've mastered Nina in that as soon as I see the fear coming, I know me. If I allow it, I'll be sitting on the couch eating bonbons. For those of you who are my age, 52 and plus, I'll be on the couch eating bonbons and literally soothing the unworthiness part of me. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you let the doubt seep in, then it
Yeah.
just kind of spirals.
Yes,
And then you
exactly.
soothe it. You soothe
Right.
it with
You soothe
bonbons
it.
or Netflix or doom
Yeah.
scrolling, as the kids would say today,
Yeah,
whatever it may be.
exactly.
Okay. I would imagine in your journey, you probably have a lot of scars from that. But you I've read a little bit, you use that to empower people now.
Yeah.
Can you tell me
Mhm.
more about that?
Yeah, because I realized that there was a lot of giftings in me that I didn't know I had, right? When you're growing up with a lot of trauma, you just don't see your worth. And so I started to think about my journey when I wrote my book, I was like, Nina, you've gone through quite a bit here. Wow. So I started writing those things down and I started writing, what does that what do those pillars look like? What does the framework look like? How did you get through these things? And I started finding my true calling, my what I call my God-given calling, because I believe in God, right? So,
Mhm.
and I started to uncover my belief systems and where did they come from? And it was a lot from family damage, right? And started to renew the things that they said to me for the truth of what God says about me. And I started to develop all of that. So it's like a divine discovery. And then I have a visionary blueprint where I design, my values. What is it that I have as my values? My values are faith, authenticity, truthfulness, kindness. Like these are big values for me. And so I help women kind of discover, not kind of, but to discover what their value aligned business model is. What is it that they want to bring out into the world? And I started to think about how does that look for these women? And so we started to work on inner healing,
Mhm.
transcending all of these unwanted belief systems, and then I also I have a team now that brought onto the business that helps women if they want to develop like coaching businesses, for example. My team will then come in when we have done all the healing and built up their business and everything, and they will do their funnel building, their automation, all the things you need to actually run a business that nobody tells you about when you first you
When
first
you
come out here
first
to
start
run
a
a business.
business, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The folks, Nina has mentioned a couple of times in the book. It's called "Hit Me with Your Best Shot: How
Mhm,
I Overcame a Hard Hitting Life,"
mhm.
and I think it's good to mention it because there are things in it I would imagine that are like, ooh, okay, here's how I can transcend anything that's happened to me, even
Right.
you know deep trauma, but also having your kids go off to school, right? Having them
Mhm.
leave the nest, right?
Mhm.
That's gonna be emotional trauma for parents.
100%.
And trying to wrap your head around, ooh, if and this is what I think is the deep-seated one is like, what if I'm not wanted anymore? You hinted at it before, right?
Mhm,
What if I'm not
mhm.
wanted anymore?
Yeah.
Then what?
Well, I call that a lie from the pit of hell is what that what I call that. I call
Alive
that
from the pit of hell.
a lie
Ooh.
from the pit of hell. That's where that's from, because you are wanted, and that's the thing, like, I think it's just, truly discovering, all of these amazing, beautiful gifts that you have in you. And I know some people say, "Well, I don't know if I have any gifts." No, you absolutely do because we have gone through things in life. And when you've gone through things in life, if you can pull and extract, what I say is, chew the meat and spit out the bones, right? And so while you are extracting the good stuff, spit out the ugly, bad stuff. Nobody needs it or wants it unless you're going to reframe it into something better. But what you have learned is organization, how to be a parent, how to deal with issues. Like my kids had big issues. I wrote it in my book, like all the heavy issues that I went through with my one of my children was on drugs, like things like that. Like there was a lot of things that I dealt with that were very heavy as a parent, but I learned to navigate. And as I've been able to work with these women, they don't come to me for parenting advice, but we do speak about kids and things that we've gone through. You have got gifts within you. Be intentional to find out what they are. Discover them. It's going to be fun. You're going to learn so much. And what I mean is, you are wanted because someone out here needs your voice because there's something you have that they haven't been able to find. I really believe that. That's a true belief of mine, that we are all here to serve another human.
I love that. Yeah, and I know folks maybe think, well, for me, it's my kids. I'm a parent. That's who I'm serving. But I
Mhm.
totally agree with you. There are other people who could use your
Mhm.
insight, could use how your brain works, how you think about things. Nobody thinks about the same thing the same way.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so,
we're not reinventing the wheel, but
oh, sure.
but we all have a different angle. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's only so many thoughts in this world, right? We all
Right.
just look at them a little bit differently. Our ideas or concepts, we
Right.
just look at them a little bit differently and how we shape that for folks. But imagine
Mhm.
like folks, if you could do something amazing for somebody else, like Nina does with her people that she works with. And
Mhm.
you focus on helping people build businesses.
Mhm.
Specifically coaching businesses, but what how c in that parallel, how might you say, "Oh, if you wanna do something different, what would that look like?"
If you wanna do something different then
I don't have a
Oh,
desire
like
to build a
different
business.
period. You
Just
mean like just
yeah.
different period? Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's, a little bit going back from what we said before, like try some different things and see what you like and don't like because you're not going to like everything, right? Like I I wanted to get into what was it? It was something and I was like, "Oh no, I don't like this." So I stopped doing it. Oh, I think it was social media managing or something with social media and stuff. I don't like that like at all, right? So I ended up having I have a whole a part of my business that's all VA. It's a VA centric business, and I have them do it. I cannot stand going on social media every day, right? That's not my thing. But I did try it, right? Because I'm like, you know what? I'm
Mhm.
going to do this for like 6 to 8 months. Let me see if I really like this. Can I manage this myself? Blah, blah, blah. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand it. 4 to 6 months in, I'm like, I'm really good at it and I hate it. So I'm not doing this anymore, right? So that's what I did. So I will tell anybody who's listening, try it. Like if it's curious to you, like right now, I'm really curious about AI. Very,
Mhm,
very curious
mhm,
about
mhm.
AI.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious about coding, right? And so what did I do? I went out there and explored. Well, what free courses can I take on AI? What free courses can I take on coding and see if I actually like it or not? So I'm just starting that, right? I might hate it. I don't know. But the truth is I'm not going to know unless I have fun trying to discover it.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, have some freaking fun. Life is super short. You are not promised tomorrow. So make today count. And that means fun. That's it. Just go have some fun.
I
Go have
love it.
some damn
I love
fun, y'all.
Yeah. There was just literally broccoli advice, and so I it just popped in my head. Do you know what broccoli advice is?
No.
It just popped in my head. You were talking about just try it. It's like when a parent says,
Oh,
just try the broccoli." Like,
yeah.
just try it. If you don't like it, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you have to try it, and so,
Right.
like, I was like, "Ooh, that's broccoli advice." Like,
Yeah.
just try it. If you don't like whatever you're trying, then go and try something different until you
Exactly.
find what you like. And
Exactly.
that's the opportunities are endless at this stage in life, but don't wait. That's
Right.
the other piece is don't wait for it all to happen.
Yeah.
Throughout your entire journey, what's one thing you've learned about yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I've learned that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. I
Mm,
used to, for many, many years, especially because I was a very young mother, I had my children very young. And I struggled a lot with depression and anxiety and things like that. Just constantly trying to be the best, do the best. I was like a very performance driven individual. And I always thought, "I'm not good enough. I'm just not smart enough. I just can't do this." All the stuff that comes at you when you're a human being trying to just make it in this world. And I realized, especially when I wrote my book, especially then is when I realized how strong I actually am. I didn't realize it because I was just in the motions, just going.
mm,
Um,
mhm,
but I'm freaking strong. Like I didn't realize that, right? So now what used to take me years to get through, whether it was shame or unforgiveness or depression or anger, whatever that thing was, it used to take me like years to get through. Then I started to work on myself. It started taking me months and then weeks and then days. And now it just takes moments. Not many things affect me for a long term anymore. So I think it's my ability to pivot and my strength to withstand things when they are hard.
mm,
Yeah.
so good, so good. Of all the things that you've done, you clearly done a lot in your life. How much of it have you done in your empty nest life? I think people will be interested to know, ooh, it was all stuff she did before the
Yeah.
kids left home, or has she done a lot since then?
No, since then, when my kids started leaving the home is when I started to work on my podcast and I started to do cooking videos on YouTube and I started to develop my coaching business and all that was done as the kids were out of the house. So, all of that came after. Like I just can't even believe I had the strength to do all of that, but it's fun. It's freaking fun, right? And I just I didn't have to worry too much. Like when I started studying to become a coach and all that, yeah, my kids were younger and stuff, but then they got, 18, 19, 20, and then they were like out. They were like, bye, mom, deuces. They were out of here. But we're very close, like very close. And sometimes they tell me a little more than I need to or want to know. Um, but I started a routine with them when they were younger we would sit down at the table, and this is when I started to get into my own self-development journey,
Mm,
and I started something at the table called free time, and what that was that when we were having dinner, it was free time, meaning anything that they did, anything that happened, anything that they shouldn't have done, but they did it anyway, they can talk about it at dinner time for that hour with absolutely no consequences to the action. Only that they had to listen to advice, give me 2 to 3 things they could have done alternatively to that action that they took,
mhm.
and nobody was allowed to walk away from the table until the conversation was over. And so it helped my family a lot. And now as adults, because my children are from the age of 37, my youngest is 27, they tell me everything, everything. A little too much, but everything.
Everything. That making those strong connections, which I
Yeah.
know some people struggle with when the
Oh,
kids
yeah.
become adults, that they don't know how to navigate the
Yeah.
parent
It's
adult
tough.
child, kind of transformation that happens there.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that's an important piece is like, how can we find ways to make that accessible, or how can we approach it more? Or doesn't mean because you didn't start it earlier that you can't start it now.
Absolutely. Or just ask them. They're adults now,
Mhm.
right? I ask my kids because my son just had a baby. She's a year old, right? And I didn't actually know how to navigate that, right? Because my youngest daughter, she's 27. She has 2 kids, and but she lives in Florida. I'm all the way in Texas, right? So I'm not as involved physically. I am, talk to her every day. But my son, on the other hand, lives maybe 30 minutes away. How do I navigate that, right? So I just asked. I'm like, "Okay, so you're a dad. It's your baby girl, my grandbaby, Imma be all over her. So, what are my parameters? How do I respect your space? How do I come at this? How do I advise you?" And he was very clear on that, and so now I have a clear roadmap. I know exactly how he wants me to talk to him and how he wants me to communicate, and, it's been great because you have to ask the questions. A lot of times we just assume, and we should stop doing that. They're adults now.
Yeah, we assume we'll live in their lives the way that we lived in their lives
Yeah. We
before.
want to actually as
Yeah,
parents,
we
right?
want, yeah, that's right. We don't make the assumption, we're just like,
We're
we're
yeah,
doing
yeah,
it.
we're
Yeah,
just coming over without
yeah.
being without
Ding
enough
dong, we're
ourselves.
here, where's the baby? As
Exactly.
opposed to saying, "Ooh, yeah, how do you want me to operate in your new now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand it's your life now. How do you
Yeah.
want me to show up in it?"
It's hard too to get, the answers with the restrictions. I don't like the answers,
Yeah,
but
of
it
course.
also gives you freedom though, because it lowers the ability to have like some kind of tension.
Mm,
It doesn't allow us to have to argue with each other or anything because I disrespected him. So he may see it that way. So I'm really, really communicative with the I was gonna say the kids. They're not kids anymore. The men and the women in my life, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, there are kids, but
Yeah, they sure are. I told them, "You're still my
you're
baby."
you're
So yeah.
still, yeah, I still see you as 4, and that's
Yeah.
okay. That's how it is, but I love that piece about just opening up the conversation because it is
Yeah.
a huge topic for parents who are empty nesting around, "How do I navigate this now?" Even when the kids first leave and go to college, it's like,
Mhm.
ask them, "How do you want me to communicate with you? Do you want me to just
Mhm.
call you? Do you wanna set a time? Do you want me to text you? Do you want me to wait for you to text me?" But let them guide the conversation,
Yeah.
not you decide
Agreed.
how you're gonna, yeah. So good. I love that. I love that. What's one thing that you wish for your future self as you're going through what you're doing now? If you looked at yourself at 80, what's one thing you would wish for yourself?
Oh, that's such a good question. I do I meditate, right? I try to meditate
Mm,
anyway. ADHD brains don't really meditate that well.
I'm with you.
But I try. And I've thought of that actually. I've taken myself down what I call a two-path journey. One path
Mm,
is what would life be like if I stayed exactly the same and did nothing? And in my deathbed, what would I think? And then the other path is if I started to do different things that I wanted to do along this path, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, 15 years deathbed, what would that look like? And so your question is very relevant to that because what I want to leave behind is a legacy of love and transformation and compassion and growth for others and for myself. I love learning. So that's what I want to do in my deathbed one day is just look back and say, man, I lived a really good full life and I believe that I've impacted people in a really good, full way. That's what I want. That's what I want, and that doesn't mean millions and billions and gajillions of dollars. That just
No,
means
no,
joy and peace and love and compassion, and, that's what that means to me. That's
I
what I
love
want.
it. I love it. So we didn't really talk about your story in particular. Like we didn't dive into many details. But I'm just curious, what's one thing that a lot of people don't know about you?
Hmm. I'm like, "What don't people know about me? I wrote a book about me." No,
Exactly. Let's
I
find
don't know.
out.
That's a
Let's
good
find out.
question. Uh, I think a lot of people, going back to what you said earlier, like they think, "Oh, Nina's tough," and I think one of the things that people don't know is how insecure I feel often.
Mm,
You know,
mhm.
because I am always online. A lot of my business is built online. Um, you might see me as completely confident and go-getterness, and because that's really the part of me that comes out because I struggle a lot with being insecure about, am I good enough, smart enough? Can I do this? I do struggle quite a bit, a lot with that. And so I have to overcome that by going. Remember, I told you I just go.
Just go.
So I just go. So I think people don't see that part of me. So sometimes people think, oh, Nina's good, but nobody checks in on me because Nina's always good.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel that 100%. A lot of my social media is me walking and talking.
Mhm.
So, but folks, I'll tell you, it looks like it's so natural, but it takes me about 45 minutes of a 55-minute walk to psych myself up to
Yeah,
create a video because
right,
I'm like, "Ooh, like, is it gonna be good enough?"
right.
Right?
Same,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
The
yeah,
same.
but
Sometimes I don't
it's
even record because 'cause I'm like, "Ah, no, it's not good enough, it's not good enough." Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
My coach talks about just you have to gag and go,
yeah.
right? Just deal with it. And so I think that's a lot of what this conversation is about. It's like you feel stuck and you're not sure what to do it anyway.
Do it
We
anyway.
don't build courage and then do stuff. We do stuff to build courage.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we always have that backwards anyway as humans,
Yeah,
right? We think we need to
exactly.
be like pumped up to do it. No, no, no. You just do it, then you get pumped up because you realize how good or how bad you were. That was really bad. Okay.
Yeah,
What do we do to change that?
exactly.
We got it out there. It's already, the bad is already done now. That's good. Now let's get to the good stuff, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for 100%.
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
100%. So, if you look at your entire life, right? And folks, if you want to learn more, you buy the book, you read about her entire journey, Nina's entire journey. But if you could go back and you looked at your entire life, what's one thing you would do differently if you knew no one would judge you?
That's such a great question. I've always said that I wouldn't change a thing because it made me who I am today. I honestly really believe that. But if I can go back to me and encourage me just a bit more, you
Mm,
know,
mhm.
and just say, listen, you're going to go through some shiznick in life. So I want to encourage you that you're a badass at the 52, but just remember, you got this. I think that's the only thing I would change is the encouragement. I had no encouragement in my life. And so that kept me a lot in depression and in
Mm,
this wheel,
right.
this hamster wheel that I couldn't get off of. So I think that's what I would change. More encouragement because I feel like I would be maybe stronger or further along than I am at 52. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, the traumas, I mean, and there's a lot of traumas in my life, I don't know if I would change those things. I think I would just want the knowledge on how to get through them better.
Yes. Yeah, to not kind of
Yeah.
spin in it and
Yeah.
like be okay,
Yes.
how it's cliche to say, but people say it often. It's like, how did this happen for me instead of to me?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
also how
Know
to
that
deal with
now, but
it
I wish I knew that
during
during. Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Alright, one more question before I
Sure.
can, let you go is, what's the most difficult decision you've ever made in your journey?
Oh, okay, there's a few. Um,
Well, we've
so
got
there
time, choose as many
there's
as
a
you
few.
like.
There's there's quite a bit of decisions in my life and in my journey of this life that I found extremely hard. I think I think Well, there's a couple, but I'm gonna choose the one that's really on my heart. So I have a son. He's now 31. He is an amazing kid now. But when he was younger, he was getting into a lot of trouble, and he
Mm,
was doing drugs, and he was hanging out with unsavory people, and just doing a lot of things. And during this journey of me, starting to do my coaching and growing and whatever, I was also contending with him and what he was going through. And I literally ripped him out of the life he was in and threw his ass thousands of miles away. So we lived in Connecticut, and I threw him to Texas by
mm,
himself to fend for himself. He was 18, and that was the hardest decision I have ever had to make as a parent and as a mom and as just as a human, because that was my baby. But
mhm,
it
mhm,
was either that or contend with the fact that I may have to either look for him in jail or bury him in the ground. And, he hated me for it, didn't speak to me for a very long time because he was so angry, and I don't blame him for the anger, but, I think that was the hardest journey. The hardest piece of my journey was making a decision that was against all of my being as a parent, you know? Just taking your kid and just putting him in a place where he's gonna have to navigate this because I'm not going to bury my son young. I just won't do it,
just won't
you
happen.
know? It
Yeah,
just won't happen, not on my watch, right?
yeah,
And so even though he loves me now and we get along great now, he hated me for a very long time, and I said, "It's okay for you to hate me because 'cause I'm not your friend. I'm your mother, you know? So you can hate me, but one day you'll talk to me again." "No, I'm not." He's very he's very angry, and I don't blame him. But I think that was the hardest decision to do that while trying to be a better coach, be a better person, be a better everything everything was against me in that moment because I felt like I am a terrible mother, terrible coach, terrible person, terrible everything. But it was the best decision I ever made in my life. He has become the best human.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that, Nina, and I'm pretty sure that was God clapping his hands, telling him,
Yeah,
"You
probably
did a
because that
good
thunder is
job.
loud.
Yeah, you did it." Just reminding you,
Yeah,
yeah, you
it's
did a
so
good job.
good.
You did the right thing. Nina, thank you so much for joining me today on This Emptiness Life. Folks, if you're wondering kind of what comes next for you, listen to this episode over again. Nina has so many nuggets in here, especially the one about fear is something I think we all need to think about. It's like, how can we just let that go and move on?
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate you having me here. Thank you so much. This was so nice. I loved it.